Talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hi, welcome to Live, Love, Thrive, Women's Empowerment Hour, brought to you, of course, by 360karma.com. And today we have on the first female voiceover for the Oscars. That would be Randy Thomas. Can't wait to talk to her, and her husband's with us also. And then later in the show, we're going to talk to Elissa Davies, who has the most incredible and amazing nonprofit. You are definitely going to want to hear about the incredible God's work she's doing. It's amazing what she's doing, and you won't want to miss that. But first up, please give a warm welcome to Randy Thomas and her husband, Arnie. Hi, guys. How are you?
Great,
Hi,
thank
Catherine.
you.
Thank you.
Good, good. It's my surprise guest, Dustin Hoffman over here.
Like if you have to look like somebody, you might as well look like somebody that
that's
people
right.
like.
That's right. And I told you I've been mistaken for Dusty too. So what can I tell you? I think you win.
That's funny.
But yeah, last minute we decided to have Arnie come on too, because you guys have this fabulous new podcast on Podcast One.
Correct.
Which is a cool new, amazing array of shows. But your show on Podcast One is called
The Music Connection Magazine podcast.
Right. The Music Connection Magazine. And on that, you guys, which launches later this month, you all are going to have rock and roll stars and
We are going,
yeah.
It's essentially ripped from the pages. I've always wanted to say this, ripped from the pages of Music Connection magazine. It's a pretty much industry-centric for musicians and the music industry. And it has been a loyal magazine that has been read for 40 years by record executives, the A&R, the producers, as well as the artists themselves, and the up-and-coming new artists that are trying to figure out how to get a foothold in the industry. And so my husband is good friends with Eric Batelli, the publisher, and he approached him and said, how would you like to give this magazine another life by going
I love that.
digital and literally turning it into an audio podcast?
Well, thanks to my wife once again, and we've been married 33 years. And she's
you're
always
just getting started.
Just getting started. And she's very much aware of what's happening everywhere. And she saw an interview with Jan Wenner from Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah.
And Jan Wenner was talking about turning the business over to his young son, 26, to go into the podcasting world. So a light went on, and I said, good enough for Rolling Stone, maybe good enough for Music Connection.
Yeah.
So I put the idea and concept together, and it was good enough to keep meeting other people. We finally made an agreement with the biggest podcasting company in the world.
How exciting.
Norm Pattis, who built Westwood One, built Podcast One, and we're on with a gentleman named Adam Carolla, who's the biggest podcasting person ever.
Yeah.
And the Shaq O'Neal from the Lakers.
Oh my
So we're
gosh.
proud to be on the network.
Oh, how exciting. And I know you're usually behind the scenes, but in this case, you've teamed up with Randy.
Yes.
And you've got a great radio voice, so this makes perfect sense.
No one ever told him that before.
We all started in radio.
Yeah, well, I got the check.
But this is a rare opportunity because as you get mature in the music business, you get a little older than being...
I'm glad you prefaced it in the music business,
the
because
music-
God knows we don't want to get mature,
Yeah,
but
that
maybe in the
wouldn't-
music
Does
business.
that apply to the entertainment business?
Well, in the music business, 35 is old.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
45, you're pushing it. So, you must be on top of things.
Yeah.
And what's happening now is that people are being so selective about the music they want to hear that they've tuned out commercials on the radio and they pay for Spotify or Pandora and whatever. So we are offering for free a podcast, and you get to talk and hear from the people that you've been reading about.
What's
I
our
love
slug line, hun? What do we call it?
It's the magazine that comes to life, and it's the magazine that's for people who love music by people who make music.
There
Oh
you go.
my God, I love that. That's exciting. That's going to be an awesome show.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I know you already started recording it, but actually it'll go live September 20th.
Yes, it
Yeah.
will drop
Yeah.
on Wednesday, September 20th, our
Yeah.
first show, and we will deliver a show every week.
How do people get Podcast One? What, like,
You just download the app, actually.
Cool.
Podcast One has its own app. It's also available in the iTunes Store, Apple, or a lot of people, if you have an iPhone, you have that purple podcast app. You can find it there. But Podcast One has this app that's blowing all others out of the water.
Wow.
And so they prefer it if you download the Podcast One app, and then you can follow the shows and be interactive. Yeah. You can choose the 360 version, which yours is a podcast. Is this a podcast webinar?
Yes, it goes also on iHeartRadio and iTunes.
There you
and
go. So it's an audio podcast, but yet you provide the visual side of it.
Right.
What makes our show so unique is that having a publication that has an audience of 100-something thousand people,
subscribers monthly.
We will be e-blasting everybody for like a good 2 weeks to let them know it's coming. So I think we're going to set an all-time standard of people clicking in for a brand new show.
Well, and look who you have hosting it with you. I mean, your wife is a trailblazer. You've made history, being the first woman to be a voice on the Oscars. What was that like? That must have been really exciting.
You know what's funny about that, Catherine? I was a DJ on the radio. I was on 94.7 The Wave doing mornings in the early 90s. Yeah. And when I got the call, I realized they were bringing in all the women DJs from The Wave to audition to become the first woman in history to announce the Academy Awards. Wow. So I went in.
That gives me goosebumps just hearing that.
Right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a dream of mine. I was really kind of a rock jock that wound up on this urban new age station doing morning drive. And it wasn't like I actually dreamed about being the announcer of the Oscars. But
once they dangled
the opportunity came. Well, I'm an extremely competitive person, and if I'm up for something, I am like all over it because I want it that badly. So the fact that it would have been the first woman in history didn't really. So I didn't think about that. Right. I just thought, okay, well, it's a job and it's live, and I remember the producer said, when we go live to 500 million people, how will you feel? And I thought, well, I've been a DJ on the radio for 20 years. Yeah. When it's time to go live, I'm just talking to one person. That's the old broadcasting.
What's amazing about this? Yeah. She's done the Oscars 8 times.
Wow.
That's amazing. And
wow. So in other words, they liked you and they invited you
me
back.
Yeah.
But one of the other shows that's amazing is that she is the voice of the Tony Awards on CBS.
Right. I know. Going on 20 years.
I'm glad I had you on.
Yes.
Because who's better to brag about you than your husband?
Well, he was my manager before we did
the best gig of all these great shows,
Yeah.
meeting Dustin Hoffman, like I told you about at the Screen Actor Guild Awards. But getting the call from a friend of mine who was producing the induction ceremonies for
Rock and Roll Hall
of Fame of Ringo Starr.
Oh, my gosh.
So they asked Randy to be the first woman to do that. She's now going on her 3rd year.
Wow.
And I was invited to come. And sitting next to Paul McCartney and being able to just talk
it's
to
a
Paul.
really
you
cool
guys keep
room
giving
to
me
be
goosebump
in.
stories.
Well, listen.
Who doesn't love the Beatles? And who wouldn't want to be sitting with
there was Ringo, there's
with
Paul
Ringo
McCartney,
and Paul.
So just to end it real quick.
Who's got those stories?
What do you say to Paul McCartney when you're looking him in the eye? And I just said, I just want to tell you, I love what you did for music and for me. I loved, and he sort of, what was the best album? I said, my favorite album was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, got it. So that was a big transformation of the Beatles, that album.
That's so cool. Yeah. That's so cool. I'm sure you have so many amazing stories. What I love to do is peel back people's background to what brought them to be a trailblazer and to do these things. Like, you're fearless, you know? And, we were talking the other day about your background of, growing up in some really tough circumstances. And I only bring it up because I think people relate to things. I like to think that people tune into my show and some week along the way they hear their story.
Right.
Because you think you're the only one with that story, but there's thousands of people out there with your story, and it helps them to hear that you had the same story.
Right. Right.
And so your story, twofold, huge obstacles. I can't even imagine. But first of all, your mom, when you were 9, went to work and didn't come home. And by that, I mean, you didn't see her
nothing
for
bad
like,
happened to her.
Right.
She just left.
Right.
Yes,
and you didn't see her for like 5 years or
5
something.
years, yeah.
And I can imagine there's other people that are relating to something like this. I can't even fathom it. I know as a mom you can't either. So
True. Well, that's
yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Having a daughter now and knowing that's not a choice I could ever make. But you know what? At the time, I think it was the only choice my mom thought she could make. The fact that she came back, to me, changed everything.
Right.
Our lives got to be good and normal again. I was very angry for a long time because I wasn't allowed to confront her in the beginning about her leaving and how that made me feel. But I think from that, there's obviously damage that's been done. I've worked through a lot of this over the years, but I think what it's given me is the gift of having a great life from like 25 on. You know what I mean? The first 25 years.
We choose the life we make, right?
Yes.
No matter what horse we rode in on, no matter what the background, no matter how dire the circumstances, you can choose to live in that, or look what you did. You made this wonderful family relationship, and it was a choice. You chose the right guy. You raised your daughter right. I could see she's such a beautiful soul.
Thank you.
You have a wonderful, beautiful, healthy relationship and family.
Thank you.
And so you told me you're married to your best friend. What could be better than that?
33 years.
Yeah.
But I think because of growing up in the 70s and having the life I did, what I got
Which
from
was a
that,
lot of drugs.
It was definitely, I had to read How to Talk to Your Child About Drugs if
now,
you've
how
done
many
drugs.
millions of people relate to that story? Yeah.
Because I never wanted to hide
How much
it
time do we have?
and not let her know that I did, because that wouldn't be honest.
Yeah.
But then there's also the other side of, well, my mom did drugs and look at, she turned out fine.
Right.
But that was never the message I wanted her to have. I wanted her to have like,
it was not a happy time.
I was really screwed up and I didn't know any better.
And it wasn't a happy time, right?
No, it wasn't.
No.
It was about escape.
Yeah.
And, like, hey, what do you have to escape from?
Right.
You've got this great life. But everyone...
But the interesting thing is you were trying to escape your past, I take it.
Correct.
And so how'd that work for you? It doesn't work. That doesn't
no, you've
work.
You've got to look at it and uncover it so that you don't carry it with you the rest of your life.
Because when people think they're covering up their past with drugs and alcohol, all they're really doing is screwing up their present.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so... then you had another traumatic thing happen in losing your brother when you were 26. I think he was 19. I'll let you share that story.
Well, it happened in Florida. He was found drowned in a canal behind his apartment building, and that really changed my life. I think where I was doing drugs and I was a DJ and thought I had a really cool life in South Florida, I realized that with him gone, I needed to make my life count for something.
Right.
So that's how I got my life together.
Right.
I went to Dr. Brian L. Weiss. He was my therapist.
You told me that.
When he was writing Many Lives, Many Masters. So I
can imagine a lot of our listeners know about Brian Weiss and his work into
past life regression, sure.
Yeah.
Which I cannot be regressed. He tried. He said that I'm too much of a control freak. It has to do with your eyes when you close them. Do you ever notice when people sleep, sometimes their eyes roll back and you can see the white?
Right.
Those are the people that
had too many martinis.
Those are the people that are able to be hypnotized.
Yes.
I am not.
Right.
So it didn't work for me, but I feel that the messages I got were on such a deeper level from him. He helped me turn my life around at a time when I really needed it. And then we came out here to Los Angeles. I got married in '84. We moved here in '86. Lived here till the 90s, and then took our daughter back to Florida, hoping I could have her grow up in a small town.
Right, and that didn't work. You came back here.
She chose USC.
Oh, yeah, she chose USC
So
and brought you back to LA.
Exactly.
Just meant you were meant to be here.
I
know
so.
Every time I've tried to leave here, something's happened that's kept me here, and I'm like, okay, got it. I'm meant to be in Los Angeles. Got it.
When our daughter came back to visit us in Florida after she spent her first year at USC, living in Los Angeles, and she came back and she said, Mom and Dad, don't expect me to move back to Fort Myers, Florida.
Right.
Never.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah,
so,
maybe after they're 80. Yeah.
So after we heard that from her,
yeah.
we put the house up for sale.
Right.
And we're back here.
Back.
Yeah.
And
and look how look how you're meant to be here. You're now podcast one show is taking off, and that probably wouldn't be happening in Fort Myers. Just saying.
You are absolutely right. It wouldn't have happened. The opportunity wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I don't think that Norm Pattison podcast one would have given us the same encouragement if they thought we were going to do the show from 3,000 miles away.
Right.
We are here.
Live here from Fort Myers, Florida.
Yeah, it just doesn't sound right.
It's not cool enough. To be frank, it's not cool enough.
Business.
We love Florida, but that's not cool enough.
Sponsored by Depends.
Oh gosh, yes, and the early bird dinner specials, Florida.
I hate to knock my home state, but I spent many years there. There's a very cool part of South Florida, but you can't leave South Florida.
Tampa.
No, she went to UF.
Yeah, UF. Yep, I'm a Gator.
Oh my! Oh, you went to University of Florida,
I
Gainesville.
Did. I did. See, now you're going to start backpedaling.
Oh, no.
Oh, that part of Florida.
That's a small...
Was it easy for you to come to LA after graduating?
I went via New York.
So you established yourself in the industry, and then you moved west.
Yeah, went to New York 5 years, then out to here. But wait a minute, this interview is about you, not me.
I know. Turn the tables on you.
I caught that. You never bring a DJ on your show. Well, I'm excited to see your show, and what is it that you'd like to share with us about it that exciting things that you have coming up on it, like.
How some of the most successful records were put together by the producer who was involved with picking the songs and helping the Rolling Stones and helping Mick Jagger and helping Elton John make such great records. These people don't have a chance usually to tell what happened behind the scenes.
I love that because I love Elton John. I would love to know what happened behind making that music. That would be great.
Right.
Yeah.
So Don Was, who is a incredible producer. He's an artist. Yeah. He was in the band Was Not Was, Walking the Dinosaur, if anybody remembers that record. Well, Don actually is an amazing bass player. He's been on tour with The Last Waltz. Yeah. I mean, please.
Yeah.
Touring with Robbie Robertson and Bob Dylan, and he has produced every Stones album since 1992's Voodoo Lounge.
And that's who you're going to have on?
Yes, Don Was will come on. He'll be the second week of our show. Our first week, Bibi Rexha, who started out as a songwriter, is also a singer, and she's the September cover. October cover is a band called Portugal the Man.
You're going to be hearing a lot
Daryl
about
Hall
this.
will be on the show in October. So we just hope you'll go to musicconnection.com and click on the podcast link and download the Podcast One app. And we hope to be talking to you in the future. And come on and bring a rock star with you, and we'll put you on our show.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to be looking in my Rolodex now.
Perfect.
That's right.
I know people from the disco era. Does that count? No, it has to be
Gloria
rock
Gaynor?
and roll, right?
Gloria Gaynor, bring her back.
So, do you do only only rock and roll?
No.
Or,
No.
all different genres?
November,
Pop, hip hop.
The November
rock,
issue will be
alternative.
a hip hop issue with a cover of a brand new hip artist that you'll be hearing a lot about. T.Y.
Oh, Ty Dolla $ign.
Sorry. But it really talks about music.
Right.
So when you talk about music, you have to cover all the aspects of it.
Right. So you'll have not only artists on, but it sounds like people who are behind the scenes. See, that's what I love. I love to know, like in your case, who's the voice of the Oscars? Who's the voice of the Tonys and the rock and roll inductees? A lot of people probably don't know Randy Thomas, but that's why I love doing this show. I love showcasing women that are doing amazing work in the world and trailblazing, because we don't hear enough about it.
How do I get on this show?
And the men that stand behind us. That's
because we need look at the Women's March. It was half men.
It's true.
Yeah. The men have wives, daughters, sisters, friends that they want to get behind in this women's empowerment and equality movement, right?
True.
Yeah.
True.
So,
he's
I know you have a
guy.
book about how to help people get into the industry to become a paid voiceover artist.
And I also do an incredible event called the Voiceover Mastery event, where I teach. I bring in the top performers and artists in the world of voiceover, video games, animation. I've got Jimmy Neutron. I've got Ratchet and Clank. I've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of those celebrities. We've got them. They come and they coach at the Sportsman's Lodge October 27th and 28th. Go to vomastery.com, and you can see more about that. My personal website is Randy Thomas VO for voiceover.com, and that's my Instagram, my Twitter, and thank you very much. I'm excited about teaching folks how to use their voice in a positive and powerful way, and also taking my voice to this podcast and sharing, the mic with my husband. It's
you
really
have an
incredible.
Amazing voice.
Well,
obviously,
thank you.
obviously. I read a little bit about how you keep your voice, primed.
No sugar, I can tell you that.
Oh, wow.
You have to eliminate
Interesting.
sugar, eliminate dairy, eliminate your orange juice even. Orange juice will, it gathers phlegm. So those are the
that
three
old Johnny
things.
Carson joke. I knew a guy who gave up sugar, drinking, and sex. He was happy up until the day he killed himself.
Very nice.
But so you give up sugar, you give up dairy, because it helps your voice.
It takes the phlegm out. And if
what's
as a
the name of
voiceover,
your book?
Voice for Hire.
Voice for Hire.
And
'Cause
it's
people
on
are
my
gonna wanna know
website,
that.
randythomasvo.com.
Can they get it on Amazon too?
There might be some copies there. We're actually getting ready to redo it with our second round of updates. So.
I love it. I love it.
you.
So you're helping young people get into, or anybody at any age, get into the business.
Mm-hmm.
You have the big voiceover summit at the Sportsman's Lodge, and they can look that up on Randy Thomas VO or at the website.
Right.
And your webinar is on Wednesday nights.
I do a webinar, but that's all right. It's enough. They can just go to those websites and see what we do. But thank you.
Obviously, you're a slacker, Randy. Obviously, you're a slacker.
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay, honey. So thank you so much, both of you, for being on. We're going to look for the Music Connection on Podcast One. Going to download Podcast One app on my phone today so I can catch
Excellent.
it. And it's going to air like
September 20th.
September 20th. What time?
Every week. It's at midnight on a Wednesday.
Midnight
Every week it'll drop
Wednesday.
on Wednesdays.
Okay. Good thing I can listen to it after, right?
That's right.
'Cause
Whenever. That's the whole point. It's on demand listening. Whenever you want,
Exactly.
it'll be there.
Love it.
Thank you.
Wish you both the best of luck.
Thank you
you
very
for
much
being
for
on.
having us.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love you. Thank you.
You too. All right, we will be right back with Alisa Davies. Stay tuned. Thank you for tuning in to the Live, Love, Thrive show, where we bring you powerful and positive programming about women and those who support women's empowerment. It seems by sharing their stories and showing us their talent and potential, they remind us of our own. We ask you to join us weekly by taking a minute to subscribe to our 360 Karma YouTube channel so you get to see every episode of these uplifting and inspiring stories. We all need more of this, yes? And did you know we have the Live, Love, Thrive book on our 360 Karma website and on Amazon? If you enjoy reading books of incredible women who are doing amazing work in the world, you will want to pick up a copy. Also, when you join 360karma.com, you will enjoy our growing video content of expert advice and support, and learn about our workshops and our second annual Women's Conference in West Hollywood, November 3rd and 4th of this year. If you would like to align with a like-minded, purpose-driven community, you will feel at home at 360karma.com. We encourage and support you to live the life you love.
RTB Financial Group empowers women to raise the bar and take control of their financial future. For more information, visit rtbfinancialgroup.com or call Amanda Barr at 424-284-4216. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women.
And we are back with Alisa Davies. Please give her a warm welcome. Hi, Alisa. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You have a most incredible nonprofit. I just am so moved by the work that you do. But first, I want to talk about where you're from and what brought you to this incredible work that we're going to talk about. So you were born here in California, right?
Yes, Redondo Beach.
Yeah, Redondo. And
raised in Torrance.
Yeah. And certainly that's changed a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
They always say you never can go back home.
I know. 20 years later, if you've ever been around long enough, go back 20 years to where you grew up, and it just does not look the same. Everything gets so built up, and
you want it to be just like when you left it.
You do. That's not going to happen.
It spoils everything.
Yeah.
Don't go
But
home.
you grew up in a very interesting family. Your mom was an opera singer, right? Mm-hmm. And then you guys moved around a lot.
Yes.
Like 20 times.
In married life, I did.
Yeah.
I was married 19 and a half years and moved 21 times.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
And that was the first husband.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's gone on and on. It's like, dust on the refrigerator, better move.
But what I found fascinating is growing up that your dad was like this really do-it-yourself guy.
Yes.
And you were saying that he even had, you had 5 kids in the family, was it?
4 daughters, yes.
4.
Yeah.
Okay, and he'd even have you guys like build your own pool.
Yeah.
So
we wanted a swimming pool, and we came home from school, and Daddy had 4 shovels out there and said, "Okay, start digging."
Oh my gosh!
Took us 2 years to dig that hole.
That is a crazy story.
And then we had to do the pool. He taught us how to line it and put the metal bars in, and gunite and plaster, but we were always a do-it-yourself family.
Yeah.
So everything we did, he would teach us. And my father worked for North American Rockwell, so he was instrumental in the flights to the moon in the Apollo series.
Oh my gosh, how exciting!
Yeah, and he worked on the one of the persons that worked on the X-15 rocket, which started that whole series of man in the moon type thing. So we were very involved in that as well. So it was fun.
Wow, it sounds fun. So it was a tight-knit family?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we had a lot. When we got grounded, we didn't care because our yard was the funnest. We had our own swimming pool, and we had a miniature golf course and a corral and 52 pets. So.
Oh my God, how fun!
So
now, how did that do-it-yourself mentality lead to what you do today? I guess because you're doing so many incredible things and it's all hands-on. So, would you say that came from your upbringing?
Yes. Yes. There's sometimes when I don't like being able to do it myself, because if I hire a contractor to do something at my house, then after he leaves, I tear it apart and fix it. So, and it's,
is that called a perfectionist?
No, it's
just
a
want
curse.
it done right. It's a curse.
It's a curse. Yeah, because I knew I could have done it better.
That's so funny.
I just kind of like watching people work at the house and not me doing it.
So let's talk about a pivotal moment that changed your life and led to the work that you're doing today, which is your sister had lost a child.
Yeah, she lost my grandparents, my mother's parents my parents' first grandchild, Kimberly, when she was 3.5. And it didn't really affect me in doing what I'm doing now, but suddenly it's come up to why, people ask me why.
Yeah, why are you doing the work that you're doing?
And I don't know why.
Right.
I just am.
You're kind of thinking
but then
maybe
I thought back, to mothers that have children and lose children, and some of them don't even know that when you're in the hospital that you have the ability to say what you want to have done with your child. It doesn't have to be thrown away as medical waste.
Right.
And a lot of people, they are not given the opportunity to take care of their child's remains.
Right.
And some of them walk away. So.
And when your sister lost her child to, I think, spinal meningitis.
Spinal meningitis, yeah.
It was possible that it could be spread, and so the child was quarantined so that the other children in the family wouldn't get it. So you had mentioned that that was very touch and go as to would this affect any other children in the family.
Yes.
So I mean, it feels like it was a very pivotal time in your life. Now let's tell people what you do now, which you just started to explain, is that you saw an article in a paper. Tell me about that article.
The article was written in 1998, and it was about a baby that was found in the trash in Chula Vista on a college campus.
Oh my gosh.
And people,
not alive.
No, it passed away.
Right.
And so, everybody reads those articles, and their first thing is, who could do something like that?
Yeah.
And then your day starts, and you're off running around doing your own things, and you forget about the article. But for that particular baby, I couldn't forget.
Yeah.
So finally, a month later, I called the coroner's office, and I said, for my own peace of mind, whatever happened to that baby? And he said, he's still here, and if nobody claims him, he'll go into an unmarked grave out at Mount Hope Cemetery. So I said, well, how do you claim a baby that's not yours? And he said, show me you have a dignified place to put him.
Wow.
So got people together from the community, and we started Garden of Innocence, which provides dignified burials for abandoned and unidentified children.
Wow.
And there are 3 types of children we take. The unidentified ones are that are found in the trash, the sewer, the rivers. And then we have children that are born past 20 weeks gestation in a hospital. And at that point, their bodies are considered viable, so it's the parents' responsibility to dispose of their child's remains. And sometimes those parents walk out of the hospital and don't claim their child's body. So those are abandoned children. Then there's also children that the parents did the right thing. They took them to a mortuary, they had them cremated, or they're there, but they never came back for them.
Right.
So those are the 3 scenarios we get. And
all 3 are unfathomable.
Yes.
But what I will say is what we're about to talk about is the beautiful thing that you do for those lost children. And that in there lies the miracle and the beauty of Garden of Innocence.
Yes.
So let's walk people through what happens when these children are released to you. First of all, how do people in the community know about Garden of Innocence to call you when a child in a particular area is found in one of those 3 ways? Yeah.
Well, usually once a child is abandoned at the hospitals, the paperwork is passed to the coroner or the public administrator who have to certify the child abandoned. Once they've certified it abandoned, before Garden of Innocence, it would go into an unmarked grave, which means it's held in a vault with other cremains of indigent people. And when they have a buildup of 200 to 400 people in the vault, then they take them out to a field in a cemetery and they put them all in a mass grave.
Wow.
Totally not respectful.
And so Garden of Innocence has changed all that. So
yes.
Who is it that contacts you? You have to contact each city and let them know about your service. Is that what happens?
Yes. I have to go to every county, and once I'm in the county, I have to speak to the coroner and the public administrator to find out if they'll allow me to assist them with the indigent burials of abandoned children.
Have any of those counties turned you down, or are they all on board?
Yes. No, they turned me down.
Oh my gosh, why would they?
I don't know. They didn't care yesterday, but suddenly when somebody else wants to help, then all of a sudden it's like, who is this person? She must be out of her mind, you know.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do this, but we do it at no charge for the county, so we take away that fee that they have to pay.
So who in the county makes that decision to go with you?
It would be either the coroner, the public administrator. They're the ones that are in charge of those indigent people.
So once they decide, yes, we will contact you, you get a call from them from time to time when these lost children
Yes.
occur, and they call you up and say, there's someone here for you to pick up.
Yes.
And the baby, sometimes they know the name and sometimes they don't.
Yes. Well, if it's born in a hospital, we do see a name, but sometimes it's just named Baby Doe or Baby Jones or something like that. So what we do is we feel that every child deserves a name. It's a human dignity everyone deserves to be called by something.
Right.
So we have the people in the communities where the gardens are built name a baby. And so we have a list, and we put the name they want. It's usually in memory of a mother or a father or a child they've lost. So they'll go on a list, and then when that baby comes up to the top of the list, we let them know that your baby's here, we're going to be having a service. And in Garden of Innocence, it takes 16 people to bury one baby. So we have to bring a community together. So once I have the okay from the coroner, I have to go send out through Craigslist or any way I can, visiting churches, youth groups, trying to get help to run the garden, because we don't physically run the garden. We come in and we teach a community how to care for their own.
So you have 10 gardens so far.
Yes.
Yeah, in places like San Diego and where else?
Sacramento, Fresno, Ventura, Santa Barbara, Paradise, San Francisco's inside the Columbarium, which is a very beautiful building. And the cemeteries donate the area for us.
So once you have the child, you've named the child, you get together about 16 people, and sometimes there's organizations you were telling me about that participate in the service. That would be like the Knights of Columbus.
The Knights of the Columbus give us full color guard, which brings dignity to the children. They escort them from the street out to the garden, wherever it is, and then they stay in the service and and stand behind the child throughout the whole service.
Now, besides a name and a proper burial and a beautiful place to put them, you provide those children with 3 things, right?
Yes, we provide them with a handmade casket or urn. They're made for us by the Boy Scouts of America as their Eagle Scout project. So we receive urns from all over America. And
so some are caskets, some are urns.
Yes.
Yeah.
San Diego's the only one that does full burials now. The rest of the counties are cremation, and that's the way the sheriff coroners want them. They want them cremated. So we don't do full burials except in San Diego, but the Boy Scouts will make our caskets for us down there, and then we have woodworkers all over the United States send us urns, and so then we have people that are knitters or crochet or make blankets for us, and the size we need are only 8 inches by 8 inches. They're for the cremains, and we place the cremains on the blanket. I actually brought one here, and then once we put the cremains on the blanket, we fold it around them, same as we are swaddling a child.
Right.
And then we put them.
And the reason you do that is you feel that every child deserves that dignity.
Comfort, yes.
That
the
comfort.
dignity and comfort of something handmade by somebody that cared. Somebody cared enough to make this blanket for me. And so then we put them upside down in the urn because it opens from the bottom. And then we collect Beanie Babies, which are little soft toys, and we put those in there.
And people donate those to you.
Yes.
Right.
And we're short on those, so we're running out. But we go put those in on top of the baby in the urn, and then when we put the bottom on and turn it right side up, the baby is face up resting on a toy, a soft toy. So they're giving comfort even though they had nothing yesterday or nobody that cared. Today they do. And it's
and you know,
wonderful.
they say when people leave their body, their soul is still there, and so I'm sure they see the beautiful, dignified way that you treat their burial, and I'm sure it must, you know, impact their soul, and certainly it just impacts you in knowing that you're doing something good for that soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and we bring the community together to run the gardens, and it wasn't until I took care of, I don't know how far down the line she was, a particular baby named Michaela, and I wrote about her on our website, and she's the one that taught me that when your loved ones have passed away, they're still there. They've never left you.
Right.
And
I believe that.
look for a sign.
Yes.
Because, you know, my husband used to do a trick to me that I didn't like. He would lock the door when I'd go to get in the car, and I didn't like it. And you try to get in the car, and the door and he'd lock it. And the day before, I had taken Michaela and picked her up. She was the first time I had put a body, not a live body, but a body in my car. And
this was the very first one that you did.
No, she was the first one I actually put in my car.
Oh, gotcha.
Because the morgue wagon was full. And he goes,
wow.
"Oh, put it in your car." And I went, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Yeah.
So I put her in my car, and I'm driving from the morgue to the mortuary, and I'm thinking, gosh, what do you do when you have a body in your car?
Yeah.
So I just said, "Okay, Michaela, that's your new name, and I'm going to sing you nursery rhymes." So I sang her every rhyme I could think of.
Aww.
And I actually had to slow down because I'd gotten into some patriotics. You know, I'm going, "Hey, you're an American citizen. You have to learn our patriotic songs, too." So I was singing to her. Took her in the morgue or in the mortuary, and I gave her to the attendant there, and they put her back in the refrigerator until her service. And I just told her, I'm talking to this person, and I just told her, "I'll be back on Saturday to take you to your service, and you're going to see a lot of people there that care." And I left her there. So next day I go to get in my car, and I got in my car, and my husband went to get in the car, and the door locked. And he looked at me, and I thought, I must have hit it with my elbow. And I unlocked it, and he reached for the handle, and the door locked.
Oh.
And I said, "I didn't touch it."
Yeah.
And I unlocked the door, and he reached for the handle, and the door locked.
Oh, my God.
And then he gestured at me with one of his 5 fingers, and I went, "I didn't do it." And I reached for the handle, unlocked it. He reached for the handle, and it locked. And it went lock, 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 lock. And I'm watching this go up and down and up and down. And all of a sudden I went, "Michaela, if you're in this car, knock it off." And it immediately stopped. And I thought, she knew that I did something special for her yesterday. And she knew that he does something that hurts me, and she got him back. And that's when I learned that your loved ones are with you.
Right. So when you bury these children, it's a formality that gives them dignity.
Yes.
But you feel like their soul is very aware that you're doing that.
Yes.
And that it makes such an impact. Yeah.
Yes. And it doesn't only, people ask me, how can you bury a baby? It's the hardest thing in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
And our answer back is, how can we not?
Right.
And we've learned over the years that the garden isn't just about burying babies.
Right.
It's given people closure in areas of their lives, and given people the ability to name a child after someone they lost, or the woodworkers that build us urns that are making it out of specific wood, or they made it out of their grandmother's cedar chest because they loved their grandmother and they wanted something special for her, in memory of her.
It's a very special network of people that you have working on this beautiful endeavor that you're doing. I know one story was that you found a child that had been buried beneath a house about 150 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, she was buried in the 1870s.
Tell me about that, because that's not your typical story.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It was a home in San Francisco, and the homeowners were having a renovation on their house, and the contractor digging the plumbing line had dug up a child's casket. But it was an unusual casket. It was a casket that was manufactured in 1858.
Wow.
And so the coroner went out there and looked at it, and he said, I consider it a properly interred body, and I'm not going to touch it, because that home was built on what used to be the land of the Oddfellows Cemetery. And back in the 1800s or 1890s, the city of San Francisco decided that the dead were taking up the land for the living. So they moved over 300,000 bodies down to Colma, but they didn't get them all. And so this particular child was under that house that had not moved with all those other bodies. So when the coroner wouldn't take it, the homeowner's stuck with a body in her yard that she can't take care of.
So they called you.
Yeah. Well, they called Colma first, and they wanted like $7,000 for a reburial. And she goes, I don't have $7,000.
Right.
So she called the medical examiner, and then she called the public administrator. And then the public administrator said, let's call Lisa at the Garden of Innocence, because we have a garden here in San Francisco. So she called me, and right away I said, sure, I'll take her. I'll take care of her.
And you gave her a name.
Yes, her name. Her daughters are 4 and 6, and they actually named her Miranda Eve. And so we went with Miranda Eve. And then we went to work on burying and building her casket, because my sister owns a cabinet and company in Torrance called All Star Custom Cabinets. And so I went there, and they spent 18 hours building a casket that Miranda and her casket would fit in. And this casket that she's in is a metallic casket and had windows in it, and you could see her. But when it was built in the 1850s, it was advertised as keeping your loved ones fully intact. And Miranda hadn't changed from the day her mother put her in there.
Oh, my gosh.
She still had her blonde curly hair. She still had her fingernails, and she still had her eyelashes, and everything was there. And her flowers wrapped around her head. And
to think that could create something like that back in the 1800s.
Yeah, and we can't do it now.
Right. That's crazy. Incredible.
Yeah. So we buried Miranda on June 4th last year in 2016, but I wanted to give her back her name. I thought, my hobby is I'm a genealogist. So I tried to figure out who is she. So luckily I had five people that contacted me that wanted to help, because they read in the story that I want to know who she is. 2 of them are genealogists, one in Billings, Montana, and one in Seattle. And then 2 professors of anthropology at UC Davis and UC Santa Cruz, and then a specialist in urban specialist who specializes in mapping cemeteries. So between the 6 of us, we went to work to try to figure out who is Miranda.
Yeah.
And they said we couldn't do it because we're dealing with a cemetery that doesn't exist. So we started piecing that cemetery back together.
Right, you're a detective too.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a FBI old lady. Spy.
Well, you kind of are.
So we pieced together the cemetery. We had to figure out where that house sat in that cemetery that doesn't exist.
Wow.
And after 11 months, in April of the next year, we found a living descendant of a child I found in a burial record that matched Miranda. Same casket, approximate same age. It was a girl. She was buried in Oddfellows. And so we went with her. And then we found a living descendant in a man named Peter Cook up in San Rafael. And we asked for his DNA to test against Miranda. And it came back 99% that her name is Edith Howard Cook.
Wow, so that is amazing research you did.
We did. It was amazing that we were just so lucky that we got her. And so then this last June we did a new service and made her a new headstone with her picture and her name on it. And it's her actual picture because you can see her. Yeah. We only did a little bit of repair on her chin and her mouth.
Wow, that's incredible work you're doing.
So she wasn't abandoned by her family, but she was abandoned by the city.
To my knowledge, no one else in the country is doing this, right?
Scattering bits of groups will do it, like the fire department will do it, and certain groups in other towns, but nothing on a scale where we actually have a garden.
If this speaks to people, I hope that they'll reach out, because I know, like any nonprofit, you need help, you need funding, you need volunteers.
Yes.
So if this is something that speaks to people, if they've had any type of similar situation that they know about, or just speaks to them, they care about children and their burial. What you're doing is just wonderful.
Thank you.
I mean, just amazing. When I met you, I was so moved. I met you at the Women with a Purpose conference. You're obviously a woman with a purpose.
Yeah.
And I know you've won some awards, rightfully so. Local Hero Award, and also the L'Oreal Women of the Year. I know that's where you were pictured there with Diane Keaton.
Yes.
She was one of the presenters.
Yes. Yeah. That was the L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth.
Yeah.
And, I'm not into awards.
Yeah, but you do good work. You're going to get awards.
Yeah. That's not about me. It's about the children and bringing people together.
Yeah. And the more you, media or awards brings people a focus on the Garden of Innocence, and it's gardenofInnocence.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they can go on there. They can read all the children's stories and different things going on. And our funding is hard because we're not like the Boys Club or the animal shelters or the.
They say most nonprofits survive on individual givers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. And like right now, we're very low on funding. But I always felt if we build it, it'll come.
Yeah.
And we've never totally run out, but we're really kind of scary right now. But so if anyone's out there would like to help us, every penny goes to build more gardens.
Right. Whether it's $5 or $500, anything helps and makes such a difference.
Yes. The garden in San Diego, I bought the land around the garden. It came to $30,000. So I went out and tried to meet 30,000 people and ask them for $1. And I paid it off in a year and a half.
Good for you.
So, every penny counts. And every baby can receive a name by anyone who donates, or anybody that wants to name a baby, just let me know. We'll put you on a list. You don't have to, be part of the garden. And
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who'd have thunk that I would have an opportunity to meet you? I'm so glad I went to that conference. I say on this show every week I get to meet women who are doing amazing work in the world, and I hope to tell the stories of people that my listeners otherwise wouldn't have heard of. You really are one of those unsung heroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel that way, but we're just doing what's right.
Yeah.
And
you
one
felt
of our
called to do that, and thank goodness for those children you did.
Yep.
Yeah, and continue to.
We're trying our best.
Yeah.
So our goal is to have a garden in every state.
And how many years have you been doing this?
19.
19 years.
Yes.
Wow. We're going to end on that note.
Yay.
19 years. This woman has been helping these children that have been abandoned. Beautiful work. So gardenofInnocence.org if people are interested in getting hold of you, Elissa. Thank you so much for the work you're doing.
Well, thank you for what you're doing. I think you're fabulous.
Well, thank you. We're both trying to make a difference and make the world a little better place, right?
That's it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, please visit gardenofInnocence.org, and thank you so much for tuning in. Make it a great day. Hugs and happiness.
Yay.